What up, everybody? Power Book 2 Ghost Season 4, Episode 6 left off with Diana getting beat down by Felicia Lewis, and Tariq calling for help as he found her unconscious in an alley. Episode 7 picked up with Tariq sitting next to Diana in the hospital as we got the bad news that she lost the baby. Diana was heartbroken and blaming everyone for the loss and not being there for her, and told Tariq just to leave her alone. All Diana had on her mind at this point was revenge. Tariq also wanted revenge as he stormed out the hospital when Monet told him that avenging this baby's loss was family business, and Tariq let Monet know that he didn't work for her no more, and that was also his child. When Monet went to check on Diana and asked her who did this to her, when she told her it was Felicia, Kane walked in at the same time and overheard that name and asked who that was. But Monet's still trying to keep Kane at a distance and keep him out of her business with these dirty cops, and told him that she had it and go worry about Noma. Soon as Tariq left the hospital and got back to Stansfield, he was already working on getting to Felicia, calling Davis to get her address. When he got back to his dorm, he was getting his gun and telling Braden about the dirty cop who beat up Diana. When Tariq first walked into his dorm room and woke up Braden was just worried about how bad he messed up the night before when he got on the stage. But before they could finish their conversation, Stokely from the No Lie group came in and let them know that they were fired. But Tariq was in no mood to hear all that and charged after Stokely because he was frustrated about Diana losing the baby. But Braden stopped Tariq from committing a felony on Stansfield campus. Then told Tariq he needed to calm down and think things through and talk to someone he trusts before making that move. When Davis was getting off the phone with Tariq, Noma was also texting Davis to discuss finding someone to replace Wiley Adams to help her launder her dirty money coming in from overseas through her jet part business. Davis let Noma know that the quickest way to get over that hurdle would be to install a U.S. citizen as a majority owner in her business. Notice the eerie music playing in the background when he told her this, possibly a clue indicating that doing that could be her downfall. Then before Davis left, him and Noma hooked up, and when he was about to leave and his tie was hanging off his neck, Kane walked in and asked Davis if he's making house calls these days. And Davis told him, "Sure, Junior, if that's what you kids are calling it these days." Letting Kane know that he's also smashing Noma. Kane was letting Noma know that Effie wants out. But Noma suspects that it was Effie who gave the cops the drop with the Russians, so she let Cade know that it would be in his and Effie's best interest to find out who did. While this was going on, Congressman Rashad Tate was finding out about his brother's murder after he was killed by Detective Don Carter the night before. Tate was devastated over his brother's death and called Kamal his better half, and said it was Kamal who always encouraged him to do the right thing. And Carter's now at an all-time low, now using his wife's death as a way to relate to Rashad after killing his brother, and saying that his wife was also killed by drug dealers, and that was the reason why he set up the task force in the first place. But Rashad, much like Diana, only had revenge on his mind, and it didn't take long for Rashad Tate to get to his usual self, letting Carter know that he was either going to give him answers or he was going to take this to the press. And also let Carter know that he wanted to be the first one to know when he finds out who did it. Because of that, when Carter went to Halstead and Lewis, he said they were going to pin Kamal's murder on the Russians. The thing is, Carter wasn't even telling them the truth about who actually killed Kamal. Felicia Lewis was glad that Tate was off the board before he could find out about them. But Nico Halster felt a way about Tate being killed. Ironically enough, Halston was who Carter killed Tate over. But of course, he couldn't have let Tate take down Halston either, because that would have blown up his entire task force and his operation. Then Carter had to go meet up with Monet when she dropped the news that Felicia Lewis beat up Diana and that Diana was also pregnant. But Carter wouldn't give Monet permission to take out Felicia. When Monet walked off, she called Carter a piece of shit. Keep it in mind in episode 2, Carter called James St. Patrick a piece of shit when he was talking to Tariq. Then Monet sent Diana the text, letting her know that Carter wasn't giving them the green light with Felicia. Because of that, Diana decided she's going to take matters into her own hands. In order to do this, she went to Monet's safe to get her gun. This is reminiscent of Tariq's first kill when he took Tasha's registered gun out of the safe to kill Ray Ray. Carter then went back to the police station to confront Felicia about laying hands on Diana, and Carter could tell that Felicia was using again. Then she showed him the footage from the safe house of Tariq killing Zion. She told Carter that she cleared the servers of the footage, and that was the only copy. So Carter took the phone with the only copy of Tariq killing Zion and sent Felicia home. And Carter told her not to tell anyone about this, not even Nico. But by this time, Diana was already at the police station, waiting on Felicia Lewis to follow her home. Around this same time, Tariq was arriving at Tasha's to go talk to someone he could trust. Tariq told Tasha about everything that happened with Diana and told her as soon as he gets the location from Davis that he was going to make a move. But Tasha convinced Tariq that killing Felicia wasn't going to fix anything, and that his priority needs to be his family, and killing Felicia wouldn't get him to them any sooner. And she made sure to tell him whatever Diana's family did, make sure it didn't come back on him, that he needs to be smart and strategic. Meanwhile, Kane was letting Effie know what they needed to do about finding out who snitched on the Russians to Carter. Effie let Kane know that she could get the info, but they would need to hack a cop's computer to get into the database. To do that, they were going to need the help of Braden. But they went to his dorm room. He was checking on all the unfulfilled orders on the No Lie app and had just bumped some powder to deal with all the stress, and Kane saw it still on his nose and called him Charlie Sheen. But Braden wasn't quick to do a favor for Kane, like he might have been before after what Kane did to Trace. So they had to negotiate with him and agreed to give him the course-correct knockoff app that Effie made in Season 3. And because she wants out the game, she also decided to give him the entire Ivy League business. So the plan was to break into a cop's house and hack into his laptop. The cop was at work and his 6-year-old son was still at school. And if you look at the picture of the cop on the stand whose house they went to, it was none other than Detective Nico Halston. So now we know that Halston has a wife and a 6-year-old. So they went into his house with his wife named Maggie in there. And Braden and Effie were both covered in blood, asking for help, saying they had just got carjacked. So I'm guessing that Braden had to let Kane pistol whip him or something like that because Maggie had told Braden that he might need a few stitches. But because Effie was also covered in Landon's blood, she had to go to the bathroom to clean up, where she used this as an opportunity to hack into Nico's laptop. But the wife started getting suspicious when Landon's answers weren't lining up and went to check on Effie, who was in the middle of hacking into the laptop. When Kane showed up at the door in one of Detective Ramirez's old police uniforms, saying he was Officer Ramirez, responded to the call. This is very similar to how Kanan used Ray Ray to hit licks with Tariq and OG Power. While this was going on, Braden had a kitchen knife prepared to gut Maggie if she would have caught Effie hacking into that laptop. At this time, her husband, Detective Halston, was with Carter, and they were about to do a kick door to frame the Russians for Kamal's murder. Either though Nico was in the dark about all the details and wondered why they were doing the raid alone. Carter then killed one of the Russians and planted the gun in his hand, but Nico walked in, and I think he might have saw Carter plant the gun on the man. And even if he didn't, either way, he pretty much now knows that Carter killed Kumar. Carter told Nico to write this up while he gives Rashad the good news in person. Tate asked Carter if he was absolutely sure if that was who killed his brother, and Carter let Rashad know that they ran the test on the gun they found on the man, and it matched the gun that killed Kamal. So Rashad spit in the man's face and said he wished he would have pulled the trigger himself. Keeping in mind, earlier in the episode, he warned Carter that whoever took his brother from him was gonna pay. And Rashad completely, 100% knows that Carter was lying, all the way from the jump because he was staring Carter straight in the face and Carter looked all shook. So now Nico Halston and Rashad Tate both know the truth about who killed Kamal, and Carter guaranteed hasn't seen the last of Rashad Tate. While all this was going on, Drew was still in jail for 2 days and a night. Episodes 7 and 8 all took place within 2 days. But the dirty COs on Carter's payroll had been looking out for him, giving him a shank to take out Roman on the yard. But when that didn't work, they gave Drew some rope and Roman's cell number, and Drew took out Roman, making it look like he took his own life. This is very reminiscent of how Ghost and Tony Teresi took out Biscuit and made it look like he killed Marshall Williams, then took his own life. But by this time, Diana was sitting outside of Felicia's house with Monet's gun ready to make her move. And when Felicia went to take out the trash, Diana found her way inside. And we can tell from Nico and Felicia's houses that Carter's task force pays very well, because from what I can see, their cribs were at least as nice as the Westons and Salim's rich parents, if not nicer. Compare them to legit feds like Greg Knox or Angela Valdez, who likely made more money than NYPD, who both lived in small apartments. When Diana had the gun drawn on Felicia, she warned Diana that if she kills a cop, things are going to get much worse for her. This is something that Tariq figured out after killing Ray Ray, that he didn't fix anything, that he only started a cycle of shit that he couldn't get out of. But because Diana was hesitant to pull the trigger, Felicia was able to knock the gun out of her hand. During this fight, there were a couple Kanan vs. Ghost Power Season 2 Episode 10 Easter eggs. The first, Kanan knocking the gun out of Ghost's hand. Then he also put a bag over Ghost's mouth and tried to suffocate him. Something Felicia tried doing when she got the upper hand with Diana. But Diana was then able to knock Felicia to the ground and kick her in the face when she tried getting back up. And again, another OG Power Easter egg. Diana took a pan from off the stove and killed Felicia like how Ghost killed Marshall Williams. But the problem was, after Diana killed Felicia, she looked up and saw child toys laying on the floor. Felicia had a son. So again, Diana called Tariq for help, just like in episode 6. And Tariq didn't heed Tasha's advice at all, but went running to help and got caught up in Diana's mess. While this was going on, back at Kane's penthouse, Effie was able to access the information she hacked from Nico Houston's laptop. It didn't say who the informant was, but she was able to figure out that the task force was dirty from the bag of money they took from her. And when she printed the picture of the cops on the task force, Kane saw the picture of none other than Felicia Lewis, and now knows who the snitch who told Carter about the Russians is, his mother, Monet. Keep it in mind that earlier in the episode at the hospital, when Diana tried to tell Monet that Kane was only trying to help, Monet told Diana that she didn't want Kane getting involved with Carter because it would get him killed. Could this be foreshadowing that Carter will kill Kane? But Kane didn't let Noma know that Monet was the snitch, just like he didn't let her know that it was Monet who stole her shipment, but instead asked Noma to marry him to solve her problem with her U.S. citizenship. Then he stayed at Noma's and hooked up with her. But before he left his penthouse, Effie told him she would stay and wait for him to get back. But Kane left Effie on red, a lot like in season 1 when Tariq left her on red for her own safety because Kane sent bars to take his life. Ultimately, Kane can also be doing what he's doing and left Effie on red for her own protection, because Noma said that Effie would have to continue working with the Russians. But when Effie was about to leave Kane's penthouse, she got a call from her mother that she ignored. And this is big because we've been waiting since Power Season 6 for a little more info about Effie's family, and it looks like we're about to get some answers. When Carter got done walking out Congressman Tate, he then went to pick up Drew at the jail and let him know what happened to Diana wasn't his call, but Drew had to promise him that they wouldn't retaliate. But around this same time, Monet was looking for Diana, only to see that the safe was open and the gun was missing. So she texted Drew and let him know that Diana went to handle things herself. When Monet showed up at Felicia's and saw her dead on the ground, Diana told Monet that she knew what she said, but she had to do it. Again, almost the same thing that Tariq told Tasha after he killed Ray Ray. So there was a whole lot of Easter eggs in this episode concerning Ray Ray and Tariq's first kill, including that Felicia and Ray Ray were both dirty cops. Tariq and Diana were telling Monet that Felicia had a kid and he's upstairs, but before Monet could come up with a plan, Drew walked in the door, but he wasn't alone. Carter was with him. Drew told Carter the truth about Noma being their former supplier, and that's who they had robbed to get Carter to let them slide for killing Detective Lewis. And Carter said that you put the plug over your own family to Monet in front of Diana and Drew, opening up old wounds. But again, there was more to it because she was also protecting Kane, just like he's protecting her, either though they're beefing. Carter told them as far as he's concerned, they'll all go down for killing Detective Lewis if they don't get him the leverage he needs to go against Noma. And before Carter let Tariq walk out the door, he wrapped his arm around him and told him, "Welcome to the team." And Tariq stared down Carter before walking out. Keep it in mind, episode 6, he told Zion that nobody would own him. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.